Are you tired of turn-based? Get a little action in your life, why don't you? Hey friends, it's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and as time goes on, I like action RPGs more and more. Games have gotten so much better in the modern era, control is more fluid, and in general, these games just have so much more polish than ever. And yeah, I'll always love turn-based, but those have been getting a lot of online attention lately. I want to talk about the greatest action RPGs of all time, just to balance things out. Sound good? All right, well, let's get into it. No series is as iconic as Kingdom Hearts, because no series is packed with nearly as many icons. Square shocked the entire gaming world when they released the original Kingdom Hearts on the PlayStation 2. It was a solid game with a hook that went beyond simple novelty. It mixed Disney characters with Final Fantasy and gave us something wholly unique. The combat was good, the music and story were brilliant, and all Kingdom Hearts 2 needed to do was give us more of that, but a bit better. Instead, it blew the ceiling off. Kingdom Hearts 2 has some of the most refined action combat in video games. The story is amped up and 20 times weirder than the previous games. The music is still killer. There's even more Disney in Final Fantasy. It's just truly a remarkable game. It's so strange that the first two numbered Kingdom Hearts games came out on the same console, isn't it? It would be 2 console generations before we saw Kingdom Hearts 3, and it'll be almost 2 more before Kingdom Hearts 4 finally hits. This is a series with real staying power, but Kingdom Hearts 2 was a real high point. This is a weird one, and that's even compared to the previous game, which includes a scene of Goofy conversing with Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. The World Ends With You is a sort of unique title that could only come on the bizarro handheld that was the Nintendo DS. It split combat across both screens, and it forced you to control 2 characters at the same time with drastically different playstyles. The mere fact that this game works at all is some small miracle, really. The fact that it stands as one of the coolest and best action RPGs ever is downright nuts. The premise is that Neko wakes up in downtown Tokyo, Shibuya to be specific, but for some reason, no one can see him. He and a select few other kids have to play a game put on by a group of goths called the Reapers, and if they don't succeed, they get erased. A simple enough premise, but the story gets super twisted. The gameplay is challenging to wrap your head around, but in action, it's surprisingly intuitive. Props to Square Enix for having enough faith in their player base that we could figure it out. I think if they had been too precious about it, if they had toned it down too much, it wouldn't have left as big an impression. There have been a few ports and remasters of this game on other platforms, namely iOS and Switch, but from a gameplay perspective, those just can't compare to the DS original. Seek it out if you have the means to play it. It's incredible. I had to get at least one side-scrolling action RPG in here, and despite there being a plethora of them out there today, I just feel like none of them exemplify the subgenre better than the original. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is a masterpiece. It takes everything good about Castlevania, namely the vibes, the music, the skill-based combat, and mixes it together with the best elements of games like Metroid or its own predecessor Castlevania II: Simon's Quest, specifically the sense of isolated exploration. And it mixes them together to create essentially a new genre, one that, like I said, is really well represented today. But this one did it best. You play as Alucard, the son of Dracula. And yeah, it's dorky that his name is just Dracula spelled backwards, but don't blame Konami for that. That comes from a movie from friggin' 1943. You can call him Al, if it makes you feel better. But Alucard makes his way through his dad's ginormous castle, and he levels up as he kills monsters. Not just that, but he finds a metric ton of new gear and spells and familiars and items. This game is a pack rat's dream. There are so many secrets, including one that everyone knows by now, but that was completely insane to learn about back in the 90s. Specifically, that beating the game is really only beating half the game, and that a specific series of steps will unlock the inverted castle and the true ending. This is the game to play if you're curious about why Metroidvanias as a genre are so prevalent. This is the level every game designer is striving to hit with their similarly styled game. It's a classic. Here's a game that I feel is criminally underrated. Some of you might think I'm the criminal, putting Visions of Mana here instead of Secret or Trials. And yeah, both of those games are phenomenal. But A, I don't really want to include more than one game per series on this list, and B, I think this game got a bad rap. So Visions of Mana tells the story of a group of people who are destined to sacrifice themselves for the good of the world. Your job as the main character is to lead these people to their doom, essentially, and it's such a crazy contrast with how bright and colorful and optimistic the world of this game feels. The story and the characters are truly a highlight, and the twists and turns the story takes are among some of the most memorable I've seen in games. This one tugs at your heartstrings, and it doesn't apologize for it. The combat is fast and fluid, and it uses a job system, which is typically not something I'm crazy about in JRPGs, but here it worked really well for me. Everything comes together to make this truly feel like one of those old school grand adventures. It looks and plays the way prior games in the Mana series felt to play, if that makes sense. It's a realization of the promise of that style, and I really hope more people give it a chance. Uh-oh, I'm putting a non-JRPG on this list. What happened to me? Some of you might be trying to do a wellness check on me, assuming that this is some coded cry for help. It's not. I just really love From Software games, and Bloodborne is such a unique and downright cool game that I have to take the opportunity to talk about it. FromSoft leans into the Western RPG aesthetic with the focus on dark fantasy and isolation, and Bloodborne adds a sort of gothic Victorian color to the whole thing. You take on the role of a hunter, and tonight is the night of the hunt. You make your way through the streets of Yharnam and battle the horrific monstrosities that its residents have become. Along the way, you get hints, pieces of a story that seem to suggest something bigger is going on. Something, dare I say, cosmic. It's a bonkers story. It starts out as a sort of run-of-the-mill werewolf story and ends up like something out of H.P. Lovecraft. It's maybe FromSoft at their storytelling best. Combat is so much faster than most of the other games in their catalog. You don't have a shield here like in so many other games from this studio. You have some sort of bladed weapon and a gun. Your gun is pretty much useless for doing damage for some reason. Instead, the idea is that you use it to stun enemies just as they attack so that you can parry them for massive damage. Or you can be like me and never get good at the parry mechanic and just brute force your way through. Either way is fun, I promise. I know it's only been one console generation since this game came out, but having it stuck on the PS4 at its current frame rate and resolution feels like a crime. It still plays great, don't get me wrong, but it's way overdue for a remaster on modern hardware. We're going way back to the Super NES for this one. I'll be honest, I generally don't think action RPGs were all that good back in the 8 and 16-bit generations. They were stiff, clunky. There just wasn't enough hardware power to make games feel all that great to play, in my opinion. Except for Terranigma. This is the game that broke the mold for me, and it's still a lot of fun to play to this day. You might know this already, but Terranigma was developed by Quintet and published by Enix. Unfortunately for us on this side of the Atlantic, Enix had already shut down their US production when this game came out, meaning we never received it. Europe did, though, which means there's a perfectly viable English version of the game you can play, no fan translation required. The story is dark with that weird sort of uncanny Quintet vibe. It's hard to explain, but if you know, you know, you know? You play as a boy living in an underground world, and one day you open a box you were never supposed to open. This freezes all the people in your village, and so you have to go out into the world and try to fix your mistake. By doing so, you don't just save your village, but also essentially recreate the world outside. Combat is so fun in this one. Despite being 2D, you really feel like you have so much freedom of movement. You can run and jump and combine your attacks in cool ways that just make you feel like a badass. It's absolutely worth seeking out. It's impossible to praise it enough, honestly, and I would love it if Square Enix would find some way of getting it into our hands officially. They did it with Trials of Mana. It's gotta happen, guys. The Tales of series is massive, and quite a few of them could easily find themselves on a list like this. But my pick for best of the series is Tales of Grace's F. To understand why, let me tell you really quick how I view the Tales of games. I see them as falling into basically one of two camps. The standard camp, which is comprised of most of the games, like Symphonia, Vesperia, Berseria, etc. And the technical camp, which is made up primarily of Zestiria and Grace's F. When I say technical, what I mean is these two games lean much more heavily on skillful combat execution than the rest of the series. Not that the other games can't be challenging, but these two make proper execution key to making progress in a way that the others just don't. Grace's F wins out over Zestiria for me because I connected with the characters more. In Grace's F, you follow the cast from childhood into adulthood, and you get to see their relationships develop. Interpersonal dynamics have always been a strength of Tales of, and that's really on display in this one. If you're looking for a solid entry point into the Tales of series, Grace's F isn't a bad way to go. Like I said, it's a lot more technical than most of the other games in the series, but if you're into that sort of thing in your action RPGs, I think it's a great place to get started. And the recent remaster makes it easier than ever to play. The Nier games come out of the warped mind of Yoko Taro, who is one of the most creative game directors in the modern era. The original Nier was awesome, but Nier Automata elevates everything so much higher that I have to talk about it. You play as androids 2B and 9S, partners in the war between the Yorha and the alien machines that have taken over Earth some 10,000 plus years in the future. The androids' mission is to defeat the machines and make Earth habitable for humans again, who are hiding out on the moon until everything blows over. Unfortunately, things don't seem to be blowing over in a very timely manner. The war has been dragging on, and both 2B and 9S start to uncover some shady stuff going on behind the scenes. It's one of the coolest stories in video games. Heck, I'd put it up there against all media, to be honest. It's phenomenal. The gameplay is straight brilliant, some of the fastest and most fluid combat ever found in an action RPG. Very few games have come close to the brilliance of Nier Automata, which is why it ranks so highly on this list. Most of you have played this by now, but if you haven't, please get on it. Ys 10 Proud Nordics was the first time Falcom has released an Atlas-style upgrade to one of their games, and by Atlas-style I mean re-releasing the same game with some changes that might otherwise be considered a beefy DLC pack or something. But look, if you haven't played Ys 10, this is a no-brainer. It's by far the best way to experience the game, and the extra content is a really cool bonus. Obviously, there are a lot of Ys games, at least 10, I'd say. Yeah, but this one is my favorite. Adol as a main character has never felt more active and alive before. He's still technically a silent protagonist, but he definitely has the most personality of any silent protag in any series. The core concept of this one is that Adol is magically bonded to a girl named Karja, meaning they can't move more than a certain distance from each other. This drives the story, of course, but it also directly impacts the gameplay. How they manage to use the bathroom is never clarified by the story, by the way. Just putting that out there because I know you're all wondering. Rather than a full party of characters like you had in the previous few Ys games, here it's just Adol and Karja. Alternating between them is fun and effortless, and you'll want to do it a lot, especially during boss fights. Bosses in particular are known to put up shields, and Karja's specialty is damaging shields, so knocking down a boss's defenses with Karja and then swapping in Adol to land the killing blow is a big part of the strategy. Also, not really important, but I think it's funny, Adol and Karja are played in English by Bryce Papenbrook and Jeremy Lee, who also played Kirito and Asuna from Sword Art Online. Hearing them yelling out combat moves and shouting switch with each other takes on a whole new meaning if you're in the know. Anyway, like I said, not important. But what is important is that you play Ys 10 if you haven't. This is a fantastic series and it just keeps getting better. Yeah, I'm here to tell you that the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy makes up the best action RPG out there. Particularly Rebirth, since Revelation isn't out yet as of this filming, so I can't really comment on it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the closest humans have come to making Final Fantasy VII Advent Children the game. If you haven't seen that movie, understand that action movie directors study it to this day because of how incredible some of its sequences were. Rebirth keeps the action smooth and fast, but it still allows you to slow time down to make selections from menus. It's honestly one of the coolest effects in video games. If you think about it, Rebirth and Remake are really the next evolution of gameplay from the Kingdom Hearts series. So this list is kind of bookended that way. Didn't intend for that to happen, but I kind of love it. The story in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is among the best in the genre. I'm a bit biased because Final Fantasy VII's world and overall story are my favorite. There's just so much depth and richness to the world of this game. And the characters, especially their portrayals in the remakes, they're the best the series has ever seen. This game and this trilogy are an astonishing victory lap for some of Square Enix's best creators, and we're so lucky we get to live in a world where they exist and we get to play them. People hounded the company for a remake of Final Fantasy VII for ages, and we're getting that and so much more. Anyway, that's it. What'd you think? I definitely have some blinders, so if there are games you think should be on this list, let me know in the comments. Maybe I just haven't played them. If you're in the market for a video game podcast, check out mine. It's the JRPG Pursuit, and we talk about JRPGs on there every single week. Links in the description. Anyway, that's all. See ya.